Hello and welcome to a new tutorial regarding database, Firebase and Vue. What we'll do today is explain how to replace or set or store information in the database side. To do that, we'll create a new entry in the database collection that we already been using here in the user section. Sorry, has to be somewhere here. Well, it's not here, but we'll see. We will create an entry in the database collection that each time we register a new user, that user will be also inserted in the list of users we have here. If you remember, in the previous tutorial, we accessed this user information each time we logged in. But now what we want is that each time a person creates a new account, we are interested in inserting here a new document that will represent the data of that user. Remember that inside here we can add as many fields as we want, and we can add sub-collections, and specifically in the future we will add the option to store here the list, different lists of products and payments, different cards, okay? Because we're interested in creating cards in which we store the ID of the products that are being bought by the user. So if I refresh here, we will see that I just did it in the login section, and then when I log in, I show the information of the user. But now I'm more interested in creating the register section and create a new user in which I am automatically, it generates the entry inside the collection. To do that, we will execute the following options, okay? As you can see, we have these functions called Firestore action inside the Vue Firebase. Specifically in this case, it's Vuex, so it's not really the right, sorry, this is not the right options. I thought it was, okay, Vue Fire, getting started, writing to the database, it was the wrong call. Yeah, this is the right one, okay? So in this tutorial here, inside the official Vue Fire webpage, you will see the different options that we have to store and to change, to set and replace an existing document, update a document, yeah, and create those documents. Replacing or creating a document is the same process, okay? We have to set. And we have to have access to the database, which is in our case, if we remember well, it is the FS Firestore, okay? I'm going to clean up a bit the code. I'm going to take out this console here. I'm going to take out this here. This is when the user logs in. This is not really my interest. I'm not interested in this side of the code. Now, I am interested in this moment here, the moment that he creates a new user, okay? So the thing is that I can do it both we can do it in two different ways. We can either create or call the creation process from here once the user registers, or we can do it from here once the user once he detects the user is null. Okay, no, sorry, once he detects it doesn't exist, the document, see, no such document. So we can tell him, you know what, then create it. If you don't find it, create it. Okay, so the document will have the same structure as the user data call. Yeah, remember that this variable we created, so it reflects the same structure as we see in our collection here, the interest and the tech. Remember that if we added a new field like interests, we have also to add it here, empty, as an empty element. Okay, great. Now, if we follow the same, if we take this empty structure and we want to add it to the collection, we first I personally will create a new function which will be called create new user doc, okay, of type function, function, great. And here, as you can see, I will call the necessary commands. So each time I execute this function, it will create a document in that collection. Okay, as you can see here in the code here, you can see that what we're doing is calling this code, specifically this code. The object is not really a user in our case. We already created. It's the, let's see, let's just copy and paste. Okay, we have the same collection position, the users, as well as here. The doc will be the user ID. We don't have it right now, but we will send it as a variable of the function. So we call it like this. And the document, the value of the document itself, I mean, the ID represents, remember, the ID represents this, the ID of the document. And the values are what is in here, the object itself. Okay, this is this. It's not called user, but it's called user data core. Okay. I think I'm going to change the name of the function. I'm going to call it, well, let's call it create new user, because I think, yeah, it's okay. It's with a set. It's great. Okay. And if everything goes well, it will throw this, I will put user created. Okay. There. Now, when should I call this function? Very simple. Here, if I see that it doesn't find the document, I will tell him to create it. Okay, and the ID will be the same as the log data ID, like this. Okay, or user ID, which is, it doesn't really matter. It's one of the two. Okay, we can also use the user ID from here. Okay, so in theory, if I log in with a user that doesn't have a collection like test2, which test2, if you remember, we don't have anything for test2, okay, which is the same as test1, the password. If we go here, we'll see that, that the user only represents the one that starts with 0rn. If we go here, 0rn is only test, but the test2 doesn't have one. So automatically, once I do that, it should create, once I logged in, I detect that the user doesn't have this side, it will create it. Okay, there is a small, yeah. The reason that it fails is because DB doesn't really exist. It's not called DB. Remember, the reference of the database is FS. It's not DB. Let's try it again. Let's refresh. Okay, there is a small problem. Yeah, because sadly it stored the last session, so we have to log out. Let's log in with test2 and then log out. Okay, now it's clean. Okay, the problem is that it tried to, it stayed with the logged in test2, but it doesn't create the the collection, so the document, so it failed. Now let's try with login. Okay, let's see what's there. Probably the user ID is not working. Maybe that it's not really showing it here. Let's put this above. Let's put here let's see if the user ID is being sent. Let's do it again. Okay, so it doesn't really detect the ID of the user. Let's try something else. One small test. before we discard it. Okay, so let's add the user.id. Not sure if it's ID or user ID. Let's try it. Yeah, I think it's user ID. That's the mistake I'm making. It should be UID, not ID, not ID. Let's try it again. Yeah, it should be that. Okay, and I'm not sending the right, because I'm sending the ID and not UID. You see here, we have to put here UID. Back into the, we can test it again and see if finally it creates the document. So it tries automatically to log in, of course, because the session is not closed. We're still inside the session. Now it tells me that the user call is not defined. It is possible because originally because it first tries to log in and then initialize the component. So let's again log in with the test one, so we can log out and have a completely clean without session situation. Now if we log in, it should create the element. It's not creating it yet. Okay, I wanna stop and check it out for a second. Hi, so the reason I'm failing doesn't work is because I forgot to put here the this. Okay, it's probably because it doesn't detect it. Again, we'll have to log in as test one, log in and then log out. Okay, let's clean this up. Now let's try to log in again. Wait, sorry, but this, sorry, again, let's put here the two. And now finally it should work. Yeah, so without any errors, it should have created the document user in this, as you can see in this side, without any date and without any information, because we haven't really inserted anything to that. But we can always try to, we can afterward, I mean, if you want, here in the user side, you can ask the user to add more information about himself. The main, the most typical information that we generally ask people when they register is, for example, their address. For example, I don't know, it's, you can add more inputs. For example, I mean, you can always add here like this and put like, instead of it, you can tell him, okay, address, so it will be associated to the address and no type, just this, and it's a text. So now I have to define the v-address variable here. Remember, v-address of type nothing. Okay, and I will use this to send it to the user through, we have to add the field v-address. Okay, let's put address empty as well. And here we can, before we send the information, when we create the user, we can always define here, up here, the user call, data call that address equals v-address. Okay, it's a way to ensure that it will be stored once it registers. So if I log out, I register, okay, and let's clean this up, and I add test3/test3.com, and I add, I don't know, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I'm not using the repeat site, so street 1 city 2. Okay, and I write sign up. So it should have user created. I guess I forgot to put somewhere the this user call here, user call here, and the v-address, of course. Yeah, v-address has to be with a this. So again, we'll have to log out and create a new user, test4/test4.com, street 1, So let's see number 64. Okay. 64 here, saying that user data call it's not defined. Well, it's weird because it is. It is possible that the first time, again, it's empty. So, and to be honest, we can always create it again. Okay, we can always give it we can always define it this way and do like this, okay, just to be sure, because the first time when we create a new user, it doesn't really matter. We can define it from here. We can either put it down up here or put it in here. So again, let's try it. Let's log out. Let's register. Let's put test5/test5.com. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and state 1. Great. So now it was created. So we can check out. Okay, we already have many different options. Now this one, which is the latest, well, they have more than one, but it's working. Okay, probably the last two worked perfectly. Different users with different information in them. Okay, so the idea is that you will keep asking the user at the beginning of when he registers, you can ask him for more information. The last thing here that we're not doing is once the registers works, you should go back to, it's not doing it right now. Let's take out the alert. Let's put out the alerts, and that's log user data equals user. Yeah, we forgot here to put that BL user logged. We can put it to true, even though it should have been, it's not really changing. We can put the user log into true, to turn it to true, but that's like, this is completely navigational. It's in design level, so let's leave it like that. Okay, great. So now with this, we finished the inserting and the creating of the user data. Every single insertion of a new document works this way. Now, if we want to add an update option, it's precisely the same thing, with the only difference that instead of doing create, we're going to call it update. We are not going to use an empty declaration of the object, because our interest is just to update it. So we're not really doing any of this. Okay, it will automatically take the user data call information that was changed before, and instead of calling set, we will use the update option. Okay, so whenever you want to update the field inside the user, inside the document, you can always do this specifically. And that's it. See you next time.